Namaste. Aloha. Welcome to another Bhagavad Gita class. My name is Janapati Das. We are continuing reading through chapter 2. I'd like to take this opportunity to offer my respectful obeisances to you. Thank you for listening, giving me an opportunity to share the wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita. I'd like to also offer my most humble obeisances unto my Guru Dev, Jagaguru Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Srila Prabhupada, and His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, my spiritual grandfather. I pray with the utmost sincerity for a drop of clarity in teaching this class to you. I'd like to serve my dear Guru Dev by hearing and chanting Krishna's names for you tonight. So, with you tonight, I should say. So, please join along. Namo Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Guna Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Pristayate Namo Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gura Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Pristayate Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamine Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasudeva Bhakta-vrinda Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasudeva Bhakta-vrinda Haribo Nitai Gaur Nitai Gaur Haribo Haribo Nitai Gaur Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Haribo. Krishna, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The great sage Prabhupada said to King Nimi, my dear king, a disciple has to accept the spiritual master, not only as spiritual master, but also as the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Super Soul. In other words, the disciple should accept the spiritual master as God, for he is the external manifestation of Krishna. Krishna said to Uddhava, my dear Uddhava, the spiritual master must be accepted not only as my representative, but as my very self. He must never be considered on the same level as an ordinary human being. One should never be envious of the spiritual master as one may be envious of an ordinary man. The spiritual master should always be seen as a representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and by serving the spiritual master, one is able to serve all the demigods. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Okay, so we are continuing in the Bhagavad Gita, contents of the Gita summarized, chapter 2. And we had left off, I believe we had finished 42 and 43. And we continued on text 44, chapter 2. Bhogeshvarya prakshaktanam taya parta chetasham vyavashayatmika buddhi samadana vidiyate bhoga, material enjoyment. So, this bhoga is material enjoyment. Ashvarya, opulence. Prakshaktanam, those who are so attached. Taya, by such things. Aparta chetasham, bewildered in mind. That's a nice one. Aparta chetasham, bewildered in mind. I have to write that one down. That's a good one. Everyone is so bewildered in their mind. The mind is a reservoir of bewilderment and chaos, and we listen to our mind. That's why it said that for one whose mind is their best friend, it is, very good. And oh wait, I'm paraphrasing that. Okay, so it's actually that the mind can be your best friend or your worst enemy, right? And who's our, so sorry, a little bit not quite with it tonight. Okay, so we were talking about Partha Chetasham, Vyava Shakyatamika, fixed determination. So actually it's really interesting because I think that in the previous verses, yeah, Vyava, we were talking about this last time, Vyava Shakyatamika. So that is resolute Krishna consciousness. We're talking about the person who is devoted, completely one-focused on Krishna. And here, this one is Vyava Vashatimika, which is really interesting. Is that not the same word? It is. Okay, Buddhira. All right, so it says, yeah, fixed determination. That's fixed determination, right? Okay. So we have, it's the same word. One who is resolute, one who is determined. Buddhi, devotional service of the Lord. That's, buddhi is one's intelligence and spiritual intelligence, fixed in the Krishna consciousness. Samadho, in the controlled mind. So we're going to read Bhaktivedanta's purport about that. Samadho comes from also the word samadhi. Na, never. Vidyate, does take place. So, translation, in the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination of devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. So, one has to kind of come to the point of having a higher taste in Krishna consciousness. So, when we come into contact with content, we've said before that we should definitely give people Krishna, right? And let Krishna work within their hearts. But everyone is in a different spiritual place. Sometimes people come to chanting and they have the attraction for that. So they keep doing it and they find that the attraction, they get a higher taste than what they've been getting from their material enjoyment, so-called material enjoyment, right? And so, this is a very wonderful thing because it also harkens to chapter 7, and I think it's text 8, which is earth, water, fire, air, mind, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. All these comprise my, inferior energy. So those are the gross physical and subtle energies that are covering the living entity. But the next verse says, besides these, there is a superior energy, which are the living entities who are struggling very hard with material nature and basically trying to enjoy it. I'm paraphrasing it, of course, and who are bewildered by the material energy, by trying to enjoy this material energy. They become overwhelmed and bewildered. So similarly, Arjuna was in this situation that Krishna was basically stating to him that he became fixated by them. He was contaminated by the material energy, so that his false ego was saying basically, I have a better idea than do what Krishna wants me to do, right? So, and he was bewildered by thinking that he was going to kill all of his relatives, and Krishna's saying, no, these are not, these are all eternal living beings. They are not, temporarily in these positions of being your family members and friends, but that's the main point. So samadhi means fixed mind, right? So samadhi comes from the Ashtanga yoga system of the previous ages. There are the steps which are yama, niyama. Let's see if I can get them all right off the top of my head. There's yama, niyama, asana. Maybe it was this. I don't have it all in order, but it's like pranayam, asana, pratyahara, dhyana, and samadhi. So I think I've got those. Maybe they're a little mixed up, but basically, maybe we'll do another class in explaining all those things. But basically, although it used to be the time where the Ashtanga, which means 8-limbed, it was a yogic system. So you would follow the steps, right? You would do yama niyama, which is kind of like rules and regulations of kind of like how to internally and externally, how to purify your, in other words, there was like take a certain amount of cleanliness that you would do, and you don't do these kind of things that are bad for your body. You do these things that are good for your internal life, psychological status. And then you would have like a pranayama, which are like breathing exercises, certain kind of breathing exercises, which are connected to asana, which people tend to think of as yoga, which asana means sit or sitting, a sitting posture. So they were movement postures that were basically to help keep the body strong, to help calm the body down, to calm the mind down with the pranayama, which was the breathing, which was also a way to calm your body down. And so then the process continued through various things like pratyahara, focusing your mind, or withdrawing the senses from other things, and then focusing your mind with, I think, dhyana, or maybe it's dharana. I get those ones mixed up. But eventually then focusing your mind upon spiritual matters, Krishna, and then samadhi is being completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness. And so this is where your mind is completely fixed on this determination of serving Krishna. So that's really what the samadhi was about. But people are not in samadhi. They're not even that close. They can barely control their minds at all. The mind is all over the place willy-nilly. So when the mind is fixed for understanding the self, it is called samadhi. Samadhi is never possible for persons who are interested in material sense enjoyment, nor for those who are bewildered by such temporary things. So they're overcome by the mukti bhukti kind of thing. And mukti bhukti is like sense gratification. Bhukti and mukti is liberation, right? So you would basically, you want to get into something, you want to enjoy something, but then you want to be liberated from it. So ultimately liberated from the sinful reactions is the ultimate mukti. And but we see this in this kind of like the material life, which is referred to, mukti bhukti is referred to as the two witches of allurement. I gotta have that. Ooh, look at that girl. Man, she is hot. I really want to. She'll make me happy. Gosh, she'll make me happy. You're just thinking about it. And then you're just like, then you go for it, and you're just thinking about it, and you get it, and then you're like maybe in that relationship, and you suck all the enjoyment of it, and you realize, oh my God, this is another living entity who's got this own will, and they're not doing my will, and God, I hate her. I want to get rid of her. It's like, we see this all the time. It's like, okay, I get a job that I really, really like, and then you really want to get rid of it. So this is mukti bhukti, right? It's like people are bewildered by these temporary things. They come and they go, and we keep thinking if we just do something, my Devi is just like, we just do it the right way, we'll be happy and we'll be satisfied. We never are. Never. So the point is that we have to utilize our mind in the hearing and chanting of Krishna's names that helps fixate our mind upon Krishna and withdraws our mind from all this stuff, whatever. The more we do that, the more we become attracted, and we have a higher taste. So we don't really have to do the Ashtanga. I mean, the Ashtanga system is kind of like, by this age of Kali, with Lord Chaitanya coming and giving us a very simple process. We don't have to follow a very difficult step-by-step process. We just chant Krishna's names, and that all the other things kind of fall into place. There are more. Okay, so samadhi is never possible for persons interested in material sense enjoyment, nor for those who are bewildered by such temporary things. So people might be, we give people Krishna names, but people might be so like completely overwhelmed by material energy, and they're trying to attempt to enjoy it. They cannot deal with it, even with Krishna's names in this life, maybe another life. they are more or less condemned by the process of material energy. So material energy, Maya Devi just runs you over the ring, runs you over the hot coals. You want to go down that path. She makes it so. That's her job. That's her service to Krishna. She makes it so that you either want it or you don't want it. You really want Krishna, and she really tempts you. So text 45. Trai gunya vishaya veda nishtrai gunyo bhavara juna nirvadvo nitya sattvasto niryoga kshema atvatmavan. Trai gunya, pertaining to the three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance, right? Vishaya, on the subject matter, Vedaya, Vedic literatures. Nishtala gunya, in pure state of spiritual existence. Bhava, be. Arjuna, O Arjuna. Nirvandava, free from the pains of opposites. So, there's a word, Dvanda, Dvaita, Dva, I think actually that sort of like prefix or whatever, what they call that in Sanskrit, is actually opposites, duality, right? Nitya sattva shta, ever remaining in sattva, goodness. Niryoga kshema, free from the thought of acquisition and preservation. I know I'm saying it wrong. Admavan, established in the self. Yeah, I can speak English still. My tongue's twisted. Translation, text 43. The Vedas mainly deal with the subject of the three modes of material nature. Rise above these modes, O Arjuna. Be transcendental to all of them. Be free from the dualities, and from the anxieties for gain and safety. Right, so that was that word. I was right. Dualities, right? Be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. So that's a really significant verse that Krishna is telling Arjuna, because Arjuna basically was categorizing, pulling out all kinds of stuff from the Vedic tradition, which is really the Varnashram system, the Vedic system, the Vedas, for generally speaking, have a lot to do with the three modes of material nature and how you live in this world. It's kind of like the manual of what to do, how to live a sort of spiritual life and regulate your senses to try to elevate yourself to God eventually, but be able to enjoy in this material world. So that there is a section in the Vedas called the Karma Kanda section, which has to do with the actions in material nature, right, that you can do, the enjoyment, the sense enjoyment, right? So this is actually very similar, and I think probably the Torah and the Quran probably were spin-offs of the Vedic tradition, because those books, holy books, are a lot of them are like Karma Kanda sections. They're like, who to marry, how do you marry, how many cows to deal with, and what to deal with in governmental situations. And so there was a lot of rules and regulations and social what to do, just like most of these parts of the Vedas. And what Krishna is saying is that you should just not worry about a lot of these things that you're talking about, that you're trying to draw from the Vedas. You need to rise above the modes. So we have goodness, passion, and ignorance, right? We have ignorance, passion, living in a passionate life, and living a goodness life. It's ultimately that people should rise to the mode of goodness, but from the mode of goodness, you should take that and go to Krishna in the mode of transcendental goodness. And so that's why he's saying rise above these modes, be transcendental of them, and be free from all dualities, right? Good, the winter and summer seasons, it's happy, it's sad, be above that. We're above that. We're transcending that. Whether it's good materially or whether it's bad materially, that's really irrelevant. And from the anxieties for gain and safety. So am I going to get this? Or am I going to be able to keep this? I need to, people who have money, they're either like afraid, they've got money, so they either want to gain more, or they're afraid they're going to lose something. The economy is bad, or whatever. And so they're afraid, oh my God, I got to protect, so I got to have a huge wall with electronic system, keep all the bad people out to save my money, protect my money. And if you're poor, it's kind of like, well, you don't have much to lose, but you want to try to get what the rich people have. So then, anyway. So that's what this duality is. Am I going to enjoy it? Am I going to not enjoy it? And he said, being established in the self, the ultimate self, the Jivatma, and understanding who you are as that spirit soul that Krishna is talking about to Arjuna. Purport. All material activities involve actions and reactions in the three modes of material nature. So we're getting further into this idea of karma yoga, right? That's going to be brought up in chapter 3 and chapter 5. The Vedas deal mostly with fruitive activities to gradually elevate the general public from the field of sense gratification to a position on the transcendental plane. So it was, a lot of societies were like this, and nowadays in the West especially, but you're seeing across the world, it's just like anything goes. We got to throw out the religious practices. There's all the regulations, those are outdated, and you got to be free to do what you want to do, free to be you and me, as they used to say in that old children's show in the 70s. It's like, but so Krishna was telling Arjuna that this system, which is to help elevate the general public out of this thing, is what that's for. But actually, what I was saying is the rules and regulations of many cultures, taboos and whatnot, those are all in place to basically try to help protect people. So when you say taboos or these rules and regulations of religions are bad, they're not bad. They're actually protecting the living entity from being reincarnated into a lower life form. So Arjuna, as a friend and student of Lord Krishna, is advised to raise himself to the transcendental position of Vedanta philosophy, where in the beginning there is Brahma Ganasya, or the questions on the supreme transcendence. Well, Krishna knew that Arjuna was highly elevated. So a lot of people, that's why I was saying here earlier before, that in the minds of those who are attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, resolute determination of devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. So that is why society should have those rules and regulations. When you're not really ready, you want to stay in the material world and try to enjoy as much as possible. Okay, that's fine. But out of mercy and out of compassion, Krishna has given a system in the past, the Vedic system, so that it can help them come a little closer. But we threw it out. That's what Kali Yuga is all about. That's why Lord Chaitanya came and gave such a very easy process of chanting Krishna's names. You can go and you can chant and you can help everyone. They don't need to do all the fire sacrifices and water sacrifices and sacrificing horses and whatever they want to do. They don't need those taboos. They could be in a situation where all they had to do is chant Krishna's names. And that is more powerful. That's being transcendental to the karma kanda system of the Vedas. So he's telling Arjuna, don't worry about that. You have to understand where the place is for that, but understand that above that, the goal of all this is to go back to Krishna. You're basically heading in the same direction, and the karma kanda system may be taking last time I talked about this, what is it, the Pacific Crest Trail with all the trails that go off. Sometimes the karma kanda system is like, let's go off on a side path for 50 miles. And maybe we'll eventually find our way back, or it'll eventually loop over. Or maybe I'll just decide, this is too long of a path and head back. I want to, whatever. I don't know. That analogy is there. So this is what he's saying. This is there for people who are bewildered by and they just the process of devotional service, which is the most easy and direct way, is just too difficult for people to do because they're just completely too absorbed in material sense enjoyment. All the living entities who are in the material world are struggling very hard for existence. That's what that verse in chapter 7 said. For them, the Lord, after creation of the material world, gave the Vedic wisdom advising how to live and get rid of the material entanglement. So that's what all those other holy books are. They're all Vedic spin-offs, you know. They're basically a way to teach society how to live in a semi-spiritual but same material. You could live materially in this world, but spiritually, regulating what you're doing, minimizing the impact, I guess you could say. When the activities for sense gratification, namely in the Karma Kanda chapter, are finished, then the chance for spiritual realization is offered in the form of the Upanishads, which are part of the different Vedas, as the Bhagavad Gita is a part of the fifth Veda, namely the Mahabharata. The Upanishads mark the beginning of transcendental life. So the Vedas are compiled into 4 sections, but originally they were an oral tradition that was, in previous ages, people's memory were very sharp, very strong. They lived longer lives, not like Kali Yuga. Vyasadeva, the literary incarnation, knew that in Kali Yuga, people would be fucking idiots, which we are. We're completely dumb shits. And our memories are terrible. So he wrote things down so that we could basically follow them that way. But it used to be an oral tradition that spiritual masters would hand down. And then everyone knew what the different Vedic systems were and what the point was, what the goal was. And the Upanishads marked the beginning of transcendental life. So the Upanishads and the creme de la creme of the Upanishads is the Sri Ishopanishad, which is translated also by A.C. Bhaktivedanta, and my spiritual master also has a commentary. Sorry, my camera's moving because my cat is licking his fur on the back of this, so it's like, ooh. Yeah, so if you find the Bhaktivedanta translation and purport of Sri Ishopanishad, there's also one that's called the Light, it's called the Light of the, what is it called? I'll have to look that. I'll put it in the commentary. I have to look it up. That's one that my Srila Prabhupada has commented on as well. It's very wonderful. As long as the material body exists, there are actions and reactions in the material modes. So as long as you have a material body and you're acting in particular modes of material nature, whether anything, really listening to music, eating food, acting in those modes, there's going to be an action reaction. This is karma. The karma is the action that you do. The karmic reaction is what you get later on as the seeds of. One has to learn tolerance in the face of dualities such as happiness and distress, or cold and warmth, and by tolerating such dualities becomes free from anxieties regarding gain and loss. This transcendental position is achieved in full Krishna consciousness when one is fully dependent on the goodwill of Krishna. So it's very wonderful. I always use this analogy that my spiritual master has said, that spiritual life can be understood on the playground with the seesaw. So, you know, you're on the kids are on each side of this long board. If you don't know, if you're a Gen Alpha and you don't have seesaws anymore, but basically you'll sit, the kids will push up, and so if one kid's push up, he'll go up and the other kid will go down. So he said, you know, the happiness and distress, or the winter and summer seasons that we talked about in the Bhagavad Gita, are like, well, I'm going up, everything is really good. I just, you know, the person I voted for won an election. Oh, I got a lot of money. I got a new girlfriend. I got a new car. Things are going really good. The economy is good. Oh, you know, but sooner or later, that's, they voted some other guy in office. Oh, my car is having car problems. Oh, that girl I don't like her anymore. I want some other girl. Boy, my life is really good. I lost my job, and then you're going down and you go up. And so you have these happinesses and distress, It's just like constantly. It's just like clockwork. They just go up and down, And so Srila Prabhupada has said that you just have to have an equilibrium. When you're happy, chant Krishna's names. When you're sad, chant Krishna's, when you're having difficult times, chant Krishna's names. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Always the answer to our question. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Don't freak out. Chant Krishna's names. That's really the basis of it. Despite the happiness, the stress, the cold, the warmth, the gain, the loss. And he's telling Arjuna that don't be attached to whether you win or lose, or whether who dies, or whatever. Krishna, Krishna. I am Krishna. I am your supreme friend, your dearest. I want you to come back to me. I love you. You're my best friend. This is what Krishna is saying. Trust in me. Surrender to me. Text 46. So wonderful. Yavan artha udapane sarvata sampluto dake. Tavan sarveshu vadeshu pranayasha vijanata. Yavan, all that artha is meant. Udapane, in a well of water. Udapane. Sometimes I like these words, Udapane. Sarvata, in all respects. Sampluta udake, in a great reservoir of water. Tavan, similarly. Sarveshu, in all. Vedeshu, in Vedic literatures. Brahmanasha, of the man who knows the supreme Brahman. Vijanataha, one who is complete knowledge. Okay, so translation, text 46. All purposes that are served by the small pond can at once be served by the great reservoirs of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them. So this, once again, is such a beautiful, poetic verse, as Bhagavad Gita. So many great verses in this second chapter. So this is explaining Krishna saying that the things that you worry about, the rules and regulations, and how do we do this and how do we do that, can be all achieved by chanting Krishna's names, by Krishna consciousness, by surrendering your life to Krishna. And that's true about the things that, the particulars that we worry about in material life. Are we going to have peace in the world? Can I have peace within my heart? Can I be a vegetarian? Whatever, So a lot of these things are already achieved. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. They're already achieved by chanting Krishna's names. You don't have to go to the small ponds because all the small ponds empty into the great pond, the great reservoirs of water. The rituals and sacrifices mentioned in the Karmakanda division of the Vedic literature are to encourage gradual development of self-realization. Like I said, they're there for a particular reason. You want to party in this life, in the next life, or whatever. Try to find your happiness, so-called happiness in this material world. Okay, but at least do it regulated. And this is why I say to people who are like, what's the purpose of religion? People in a Christian faith, they will follow the rules and regulations with the idea that they're going to go to heaven. They get a heavenly enjoyment. So this is the same kind of thing, I'm going to enjoy some more, but at least you're living a relatively spiritual life. Nowadays, it's just like throw it all out the window. It's like, do whatever you want to do to try to stimulate your body. And why do we have the highest suicide rate now? When the attendance in religion is at an all-time low. High suicide, high drug rate, high unhappiness, high complete obsession to social media, and it's just like these new kinds of gods that have sort of taken over to try to, it's kind of like, it really is like a Satanism, actually. And the purpose of self-realization is clearly stated in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, verse 15. The purpose of studying the Veda is to know Lord Krishna. So, Krishna makes this very clear to Arjuna that although this is for people who want to try to enjoy things, enjoy their senses, struggle, and try to find happiness in this material world, there is a goal. It is to help people elevate to Krishna. But Krishna is saying to Arjuna, why bother taking that long path that goes all the way around? Why not just go the short path to Krishna? It's like, why bother taking this long path of suffering, of rebirth and death and rebirth and suffering and heartache and being separated from the people you love? Why bother? So self-realization means understanding Krishna and one's eternal relationship with him. That's what the Bhagavad Gita is about, really. It is the song of God. This is his loving relationship with God. This is our true state eternally. What we have forgotten. It's our eternal relationship. It's it's like the fish going back to water. We're out of water right now. We're outside the fishbowl, trying to be like, you see the water on the inside of the bowl and going sucking, like trying to suck the glass, dying. The living entities are parts and parcels of Krishna, therefore revival of Krishna consciousness by the individual living entity is the highest perfectional stage of Vedic knowledge. Say that again. The living entities are parts and parcels of Krishna. So we're eternally spiritual, and we are not the body, we don't die, and we are related to Krishna. We're the same spiritual energy. We're in a loving relationship with Krishna. Therefore, revival, notice that it's not like we're going somewhere that we haven't been. We're actually returning. We're trying to return. Revival of Krishna consciousness by the individual living entity is the highest perfectional stage of Vedic knowledge. That is the highest existence. The highest purpose of human life is to come back to this relationship with Krishna. Nothing else. It's not to be a PhD. It's not to be, have a million cars or billions of dollars, unless we're using it in Krishna's service, right? No, this is the highest perfectional stage, because all the material things that we accumulate in this life, whether Arjuna's relatives were kept alive for a while, they would eventually die. You'd have to check them out. But we've said that, and later on in the Bhagavad Gita, that even the smallest advancement in Krishna consciousness can protect us from the greatest stage of fear and is never lost. This is confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 33rd chapter, 7th verse as follows. Aho bhata svapako to kariyan yaj javare vartate nama tubhyam tepush tapaste jehu vuhu sarnu arya brahmanuchur nama grinati yete. O my Lord, a person who is chanting your holy name, although born of a low family like that of a Chandala, dog eater, is situated on the highest platform of self-realization. So, no matter what stage of life you're born into, you could come from a very lowly situation and be chanting Krishna's names and be higher than the greatest Brahmana. Such a person must have performed all kinds of penances and sacrifices according to Vedic rituals and studied the Vedic literatures many, many times after taking his bath in all the holy places of pilgrimage. Such a person is considered to be the best of the Aryan family. So we've talked about this term Aryan as being not Nazis, but being a spiritually minded person. So one must be intelligent enough to understand that the purpose of the Vedas, without being attached to the rituals only, and must not desire to be elevated to the heavenly kingdoms for a better quality of sense gratification. So this going back to many things that we're talking about here. The karma kanda, people attached to rules and regulations. The Pharisees during Jesus' time were attached to rules and regulations. There are so many Christians in this life, they follow Jesus Christ, but they were just like the Pharisees. They basically are like caught up in the rules and regulations and the elevation to heavenly planets. Like, I don't, if I do all these things, I can go to heaven and enjoy with my family, my friend. And, what about God? Oh, I don't know. God's kind of somewhere we're enjoying his kingdom forever. It's like, devotee of Krishna doesn't really want the kingdom or the keys to the kingdom. We want to have a loving relationship with God. We want to be with God. We want to have fun with God. We want to go out in the forest if we're in Krishna, play with Krishna. We want to enjoy being with Krishna. It's like, that's what it's really about. It's not possible for common men in this age to follow all the rules and regulations of the Vedic rituals and the injunctions of the Vedas, Vedantas, and the Upanishads. And once again, all these rules and regulations. In previous ages, we lived for hundreds of thousands of years. We had incredible memories. We didn't have to, whatever. We were spiritually minded, so we had different kinds of sacrifices. In the age of Kali, we're all stupid, so we have the chanting of Krishna's names. We don't really need to do all these things. We don't need to follow the rules and regulations. This is what Krishna's saying. Krishna, this was right at the end of the previous age before Kali Yuga. So Krishna knew that this was coming. So he's, Bhaktivedanta is explaining to what Krishna is telling Arjuna, that you don't need all these rules. Just surrender to me. It requires much time, energy, knowledge, and resources to execute the purpose of the Vedas. It is hardly possible in this age. We can't even sit still. We were in this rat race of this material life. We trying to just run around, make money, and whatever. The best purposes of the Vedic culture is served, however, by chanting the holy name of the Lord as recommended by Lord Chaitanya, the deliverer of all fallen souls, Patita Pavana, the deliverer of all the fallen souls. We're all fallen. We've all fallen. We're all the lowest of the low, and Lord Chaitanya has come to pick us up out of the material world with the chanting of Krishna's names. So easy, so wonderful, so beautiful to do, so fun. When Lord Chaitanya was asked by the great Vedic scholar Prakashananda Saraswati why he, the Lord, was chanting the holy name of the Lord like a sentimentalist instead of studying the Vedanta philosophy, the Lord replied that his spiritual master found him to be a great fool, and thus he asked him to chant the holy name of Lord Krishna. Without really, it was funny, because Lord Chaitanya is Krishna. And he's telling this impersonalist, and he converts this impersonalist actually to become a devotee of him. That, indirectly, that the Vedanta philosophy is not necessary to study because you can get all the summary from the Srimad Bhagavatam or ultimately from chanting Krishna's names. He did so and became ecstatic like a madman. In the age of Kali, most of the population is foolish and not adequately educated to understand Vedanta philosophy. The best purpose of Vedanta philosophy is served by inoffensively chanting the holy name of the Lord. Vedanta is the last word in Vedic wisdom, and the author and knower of the Vedanta philosophy is Lord Krishna. So in the Krishna book, and you can go back to listen to the classes I did on the prayers by the personified Vedas, and that explains, the Vedas and the author, the source of the Vedas. The Vedas emanated from Lord Krishna. The philosophy is Lord Krishna. That is the ultimate essence of the Vedanta philosophy. So to know the Vedanta philosophy is to know Krishna, and to know Krishna is to love Krishna, as Srila Prabhupada would say. And the highest Vedantist is the great soul who takes pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord. That is the ultimate purpose of all Vedic mysticism. So the devotee of Krishna is also the representative of the Vedas. He is the representative of Krishna. He is the external manifestation of Krishna, as is said in the prayer that I started. So we surrender our life, we take our authority and instructions from our spiritual master, just like Arjuna was instructed by Lord Krishna, who was acting as his spiritual master. So we are going to stop there, and we'll continue on to text 47 next time. Thank you very much. Haribol.